Welcome back. Today I'll be going over chapter 19 of Priscilla Presley's book, Softly as I Leave You. Priscilla starts off this chapter with an excerpt of Lisa Marie's song, Lights Out. Someone turned the lights out in Memphis. That's where my family is buried and gone. Last time I was there, I noticed a space left next to them there. Priscilla says that in a recent interview, she was told that the Presley family was plagued with tragedy, and she agrees that they've had their share of heartbreak. She says that Riley said in an interview, which she put it perfectly, their losses are no different than the losses that everyone else suffers. Death doesn't discriminate. It's inevitable in every family. And she said that the only difference is their losses are public because they're famous. Priscilla says, quote, "You lose the ability to mourn in private, for photographers compete to sneak pictures of you at your own child's funeral." She says that the family has endured a painful pattern of loss too. The Presleys bury their children. Gladys buried Jesse, Elvis's twin. Vernon buried Elvis. Minnie Mae Dodger buried Vernon. Lisa Marie buried Benjamin, and Priscilla buried Lisa Marie. Priscilla said that burying your child is a pain that is just beyond description. She had no clue when she was counting down the new year on December 31st, 2022, that she would lose Lisa Marie within a couple of weeks and almost lose Navarone too. The first week of January 2023, Priscilla, her friend Christopher, who's a photographer, and Navarone visited an animal refuge center that her friend owned. The center was fostering 2 camels that they had rescued. These camels had performed in a circus and had been abused. Navarone, who was always the curious one and fascinated by exotic animals, asked if he could go into the pen with the camels. Priscilla said that the camels looked calm enough, so the staff let him go into the enclosure. So he walked into the enclosure. It was just a chain link fence, and Priscilla and Christopher stayed on the other side. When he was in the pen, he asked if he could feed the camels, and so the handler gave him 2 bags of popcorn. The first camel just grabbed the entire bag of popcorn and ate it, and so with the second camel, he offered the popcorn out of his hand. He grabbed a handful of popcorn and offered it to the camel, but the camel took Navarone's hand, his entire hand, into its mouth and wouldn't let go. And so when Navarone tried to pull it back, his hand back, the camel had twisted Navarone's arm and then threw him to the ground. The camel then sat on Navarone, and Priscilla says that the camels weigh about 1,000 pounds. Navarone was screaming, "Mom, I'm going to die, I'm going to die." And that soon, shortly after, he stopped making any sounds. At that point, the camel bit down on Navarone's head and wouldn't let go. And she said that there was just blood pouring down Navarone's neck. Priscilla was screaming for help, and she climbed the fence into the enclosure. Christopher and the handler were trying to get the camel to let go of Navarone, and Chris was beating it with a stick, but the camel just refused to budge. Priscilla said that she was watching her son die before her own eyes, and he would have had it not been for the rescue center's, one of the rescue center's dogs. This German shepherd came up barking frantically at the camel, and when the camel didn't move, the dog started attacking the camel's face. The camel finally let go of Navarone's head and walked away. And I wonder, did the rescue center train the dog to do that, or did the dog just instinctively know that the camel was doing something really bad and went into attack? Either way, give that dog a raise and lots of treats. Anyway, so Navarone crawled away and Priscilla helped him to his feet, and they called 911, but then they realized that they could get to the hospital faster if they drove Navarone themselves. Navarone didn't have any broken bones, thank goodness, but he did require 34 staples to close up the bite. Priscilla says that he was lucky to be alive, and she was just glad that he was okay. What she didn't know was that a week later she would be at another hospital, this time with Lisa Marie. The last duet that Lisa Marie did with her dad was called Where No One Stands Alone. And Priscilla says that she teared up when Lisa showed her the video. She says it was amazing to watch Lisa sing gospel with Elvis. Priscilla says that everyone close to Elvis knew that he loved gospel, and she recalls the time when she and Elvis were walking past the Church of Christ in Memphis, and they heard people singing How Great Thou Art. She says the Church of Christ doesn't use musical instruments, so what they were hearing were these powerful voices singing in harmony. She and Elvis stood there listening to the singing until the voices went silent and the service started. Because Elvis loved gospel, Lisa associated gospel with her dad. Priscilla says that's why she thinks that Lisa Marie titled her autobiography after a lyric from Where No One Stands Alone. Lisa needed to know that she would not be alone from here to the great unknown. Priscilla says that Lisa hadn't attended her dad's birthday celebration at Graceland for a few years, but a few days after Navarone's camel attack, she flew to Memphis for Elvis's 88th birthday celebration. That year was going to be special because there was going to be an exhibit honoring Baz Luhrmann's film Elvis, and they displayed costumes and artifacts that year at Graceland. She said it was a rare public appearance for Lisa after Benjamin's passing. Lisa spoke to the crowd about how proud she was of the film and expressed her gratitude for everyone who continued to honor her father. Priscilla said that Lisa was thin but seemed to be doing well. Priscilla doesn't say whether she was at this event or not. Baz's film had earned 3 Golden Globe nominations that year, and both Priscilla and Lisa were invited to invited to attend. It was being held at the Beverly Hilton. Lisa asked Priscilla if they could go together, and Priscilla said yeah. Priscilla said that although Lisa was still upset with her about the custody dispute, she said that the film, especially Austin Butler, helped bring them together. She said the film, quote, had given us common ground again. It reminded us of what we shared, and it united us in our love for her father. Priscilla said that for the last couple of months, Lisa Marie had been complaining of stomach pains. And she said that a couple of years earlier, Lisa told her that she was having, quote, a little cosmetic surgery. Lisa didn't disclose that it was gastric bypass surgery. Because Lisa had had cosmetic procedures before, Priscilla didn't think too much of it. Priscilla says that it was unusual for Lisa Marie to complain about any ailment, so this raised a red flag for Priscilla. She told Lisa to go see a doctor. Lisa said that she would. She didn't. And she learned that Lisa was also ignoring Riley's request for her mom to go see a doctor too. Priscilla says that when she saw Lisa Marie at the Golden Globes, the moment she saw her, she knew that something was wrong. Lisa looked pale, and despite wearing a long black dress that went up to her neck, she could see how skinny she was. Lisa was also struggling to walk. She was wearing heels that she had worn before and was accustomed to wearing. But she still struggled walking. Lisa had asked Jerry Schilling if she could hold on to him as they walked so that she wouldn't fall. Priscilla reflected on how Jerry would watch Lisa as she learned how to walk as a baby at Graceland. And now, 50 years later, he was there to help her so that she didn't fall. She called Jerry, quote, Lisa's kind surrogate uncle, still watching out for his friend's daughter. Priscilla said that she noticed that Lisa seemed a little out of it and was slurring her words a bit, and she thought perhaps Lisa might be under the influence of something. She and Jerry had tried to keep Lisa away from the cameras, but it was difficult because Lisa was so proud of Austin Butler that she would talk to anyone with a microphone about him. The Golden Globes is a seated dinner event, and Priscilla said that they barely ate anything. Lisa probably didn't eat much because she said her stomach was starting to hurt again. And Priscilla said that she doesn't eat much at events anyway. But she didn't eat much because she was excited for Austin and his nomination. And she was also concerned about Lisa. Austin won Best Actor, and Priscilla says that she and Lisa were exhilarated. Priscilla says that she was so grateful that she got to experience that moment of joy with Lisa. They both held back tears as Austin delivered his speech that was full of love and gratitude for Lisa, Priscilla, and Elvis. Shortly after his speech, Lisa leaned over and told her, "Mom, I need to go. My stomach hurts." So she and Jerry walked Lisa out to get their cars. But then Lisa said, "Let's stop at Chateau Marmont for a drink on the way home," because she wasn't ready for the night to end. Priscilla said, "Okay," and then Jerry helped Lisa into her car. Everyone had all driven separately to the awards ceremony because they were all coming from different parts of town. And by the time they got to the restaurant, she said Lisa was very pale and said that she needed to go home because her stomach hurt. When valet pulled up with Lisa's car, they hugged, and she told Lisa to let me know when you get home. And Priscilla said that she had no idea that that would be the last time she would hug her daughter. Lisa called later to let her know that she had gotten home safely, and Priscilla said that had she known what was to come, she would have stayed on the phone longer just to hear Lisa speak. She asked Lisa how she was feeling, she told her she loved her, and then they hung up. 2 days later, on January 12th, she got a call from Danny Keogh, who was staying at Lisa's house. She says that she immediately knew something wasn't right. He said to her, "Nona, Lisa's unwell, you need to come." She asked what was wrong, and he told her that he had woken up early that morning and found Lisa on the floor and that she was unresponsive and there was no pulse. He called 911 and did CPR and then held her in his arms until medics arrived. The medics confirmed that there was no heartbeat, and they used a defibrillator and injected Lisa's heart with epinephrine, which got her heart beating again, so she was rushed to West Hills Hospital. Danny checked Lisa in under a fake name to throw off the paparazzi and asked for, quote, an information blackout. No one was allowed in that area without his permission, and cameras were also not allowed at all. Lisa was then put into the intensive care unit. Danny called Riley, who was out of town for work. After Danny spoke with Riley, he then called Priscilla. Then he called Michael Lockwood and told him to bring the twins to the hospital. Priscilla says she called her cousin Ivy, and then she called Navarone, and she waited at her house while Vicky went to pick up Ivy. Priscilla and Ivy then sped to the hospital, and she says that by the time they arrived at the back entrance, there were already 2 paparazzo waiting on the hill nearby. Danny came outside to walk Priscilla back into the hospital, and she says Ivy parked the car and waited for Navarone to show up. Priscilla said that there were already close family and friends in the hospital, and after she and Danny vetted everybody, everyone was given passes and then escorted into a private room. Michael Lockwood showed up with the twins, and she said that Jerry Schilling was also there. And she talks about how Jerry was in the next room over when Lisa was born, and now he was there as she lay dying. Priscilla said that as soon as she walked into Lisa Marie's hospital room, she knew that Lisa was gone. Lisa was hooked up to machines, and there was a heartbeat, but, quote, very little brain activity. Priscilla says that she could feel that Lisa's spirit wasn't there. And she said, quote, Riley later told us that while she was still on her flight, she had felt her mother's spirit pass, but none of us were ready to give up yet. Navarone arrived, and he was brought into the room with Lisa and Priscilla and Danny. She says that after a while, Navarone asked the question that was on everyone's minds. How long until we know if Lisa is going to start breathing again? The doctor told him it could be 2 minutes or 2 days. She said that after a couple of hours, Navarone couldn't bear it anymore and left the room. Other family members and friends were able to come in 2 at a time to visit with Lisa. Priscilla and Danny stayed in the room the whole time, holding Lisa's hand and telling her that they loved her. A nurse took Priscilla into the private room where Ivy was. And she says that the nurse told Ivy to make sure that Priscilla ate and had something to drink. Just then, an emergency alarm rang from Lisa's room, code blue. Priscilla started to head back to Lisa's room, and she says the nurse whispered to Ivy, quote, "Come with us. I need you to stand right behind her. She's going to fall, and you will need to catch her." When Priscilla was back in Lisa's room, she says a doctor told her that they were able to start Lisa's heart again, but that there was no guarantee that it would keep going. Priscilla says that the doctor asked her about what she wanted to do with Lisa. Okay, so I don't know why I thought Riley would be considered next of kin to Lisa, and that any type of decision like that would be left to her. Riley was an adult. I think she was 33 at the time. So it never occurred to me that Priscilla would have the authority to make such an important decision. I mean, yeah, it makes sense that she's her mom, but Lisa had an adult daughter too. Anyway, so Priscilla said that she asked the doctor what kind of life Lisa would have if they kept her hooked up to those machines. The doctor shook his head and said, no quality of life at all. I'm going to quote Priscilla here. Quote, I thought about my girl, my wild, rebellious, passionate girl, lying in a vegetative state for the rest of her life. I said what I had to. Take her off the machine, doctor. My voice was barely a whisper. And she says, with that, a nurse began unhooking the machine that kept Lisa Marie breathing. Why didn't she wait until Riley arrived so that they could collectively make this monumental decision together? Was there a rush to make this decision? Priscilla doesn't say in the book that this was a decision that the doctors made her make immediately. Was Danny consulted? Did he have a say? Or did she just make that decision on her own? I'm so confused. And wouldn't Lisa Marie have had some type of like healthcare directive or something in place that would say like, do not resuscitate, or yes, let me keep, like, help, wait as long as possible. So explore all options. I'm just so confused. So Priscilla told Danny that they needed to tell the family and friends that were waiting in the other room so that they could say goodbye to Lisa. And she says, but just as she turned to leave the room, Danny cried out, no, don't go. We can't leave her all alone. Priscilla says that she began crying and then everything went black. She doesn't remember much. She says she fell. She doesn't remember falling. She doesn't want to remember falling. She doesn't want to remember anything. But she says Ivy caught her. Priscilla says when she left the hospital out of the back entrance, more paparazzi were waiting on the hill. And by the time Danny left the hospital, a helicopter was overhead and followed him to Priscilla's home. Everyone gathered at Priscilla's house, including Riley and her husband and the Beaulieu members. Later that night, after everyone left, Priscilla says, quote, I made the announcement that is required when your child is famous, and she posted about Lisa's passing. The next day, fans brought flowers to the gates of Graceland, and there was an outpouring of condolences by fans and celebrities online. I'm not going to read each one, the ones that Priscilla included in her book, but they were all really sweet messages about Lisa. Priscilla writes that the doctors determined Lisa had died from a small bowel obstruction that caused her heart to stop, but that she, Priscilla, and Riley knew that Lisa's heart stopped when Benjamin died. Priscilla ends the chapter saying, quote, I like to believe that her son and her father were there to see her over. I need to believe that my girl is not alone. That's it for chapter 19. Stay tuned for chapter 20, where Priscilla details Lisa's funeral and memorial and what she placed in Lisa's casket. And she explains why her stories have changed over the years. I'll see you then.